What is going on, everybody? Justin Thomas here with TopShelf Fandom. I'm your host for today's video. We're going to be taking a look at Peaky Blinders Season 5, Episode 1, Black Tuesday. I'd like to thank all my Patreons, and if you guys want to support creativity, check out the link in the information below. Let's jump into this. So let's take a quick moment and talk about where we're at in the series right now. Meaning, what is creator Stephen Knight envisioning for this series? He stated that it's going to go 7 seasons, and the series will end with the first air raid sirens that go off in Britain, the first air raid sirens of what will be known as World War II, which I believe actually do go off in Birmingham, of course, home turf for the Peaky Blinders. So what we have is a story of the Peaky Blinders post-World War I, specifically Thomas Shelby, going all the way up into the Second World War. This season has a great catalyst for change. What I mean is, usually in the first episodes of these seasons, and I love Peaky Blinders, I don't think there's a series out there that I really have come across the last few years that I've enjoyed as much as Peaky Blinders, for the record, but is very simple in its concept, meaning it's 6 episodes. There's a very quick escalation to the conflict in the first episode, usually, because they kind of have to get the ball rolling fairly quickly, whether it is a escalation due to a prior feud, whether it is a attack from the IRA, which season 2 famously does. Right away, you see 2 strollers go up and just boom, you've got your catalyst for change right there. So this is a fantastic period to explore. I mean, this is a devastating time for the world. This is the Great Depression. We're dealing with Black Tuesday, the crash of 29. So how the Great Depression and market crash affect the story is really important to take note of. The post-war economy and industrialization gave birth to the roaring 20s, but in 1929 came to a screeching halt when the market crashed and in many respects didn't really recover until the height of the Second World War due to the financial and governmental missteps that led to what's known now as the Great Depression that spanned worldwide. We see how this affects those outside of the United States with this series, and it's something I really enjoy having insight into. The cause of these issues were and still are highly contested. So I'm going to say off the bat, I'm not an economist, but I will give a little bit of context to the situation because I think it is especially important for us American viewers to really have an idea and immerse ourselves in this world because it's so highly dependent on the post-World War I society in which Thomas Shelby and the rest of the Peaky Blinders and characters within our show inhabit. Political views aside, we do have to realize that post-World War I Europe was essentially a pressure cooker that had all these different clashes of ideologies and, of course, leads to the Second World War. We're going to get into that a little bit. But we see this within our narrative. This is something that Thomas Shelby is struggling with. He's playing both sides of the fence. Now that he is a member of Parliament, he must decide when it comes to his approach to capitalism and his approach to the Socialist Party. So now we have a few different ideologies that are going to be entering the Thunderdome that is Europe at this time. He must show his true colors, per se, and this is the perfect catalyst for change with the Depression, and we are going to see some of the worst ideologies. The rise of fascism starts with Mussolini, but also has a strong presence in Britain as well as Germany. Thomas Shelby is not going to be able to play the game as he usually does. And this is a very interesting turn because it is a situation in which he has finally achieved this sense of legitimacy in which I believe Thomas Shelby, ever since he got back, has been yearning for because he believes what he did and what he did in the war was not only brave, but he took the worst job, he volunteered for it, and he came back to a nation that didn't really have too much appreciation for these soldiers. Tommy's journey is essentially his journey to get back to whatever or whoever he was, ideally before the war. He's trying to find himself. He's trying to find peace. He has settled the vendetta in last season. He has pretty much exiled Michael, and he is in the States handling the business, which isn't good because the legitimate business now is, ironically, and just a showcase of how the universe is indifferent and gives 0 fucks. And when I say 0 fucks throughout this crude course of the Depression era, I don't mean that the people gave 0 fucks. I mean that the system in the just snowball of shit give 0 fucks. Whether you were playing the market or you were a farmer or a soldier or you were a just line worker at Ford, it doesn't matter. The universe is indifferent. Thomas has now risen to the House of Commons. He is in Parliament. He has the powers of being an MP. And now it is a very question of not only who should be in power, but what the power structure should be. So everything has been flipped on its head. Now there's also the economic issues, the financial issues, because cash now is king. So essentially what you have going on here is a just snowball effect of just mismanaged affairs. This is a whole lot of people buying on margin. It's essentially getting a loan for a loan. People are taking out loans to go and invest in the stock market. This isn't a simple issue, and nothing is. It's not great man history. It's not one person that caused one thing or one specific cause that put into effect this horrible sequence of events, but there's a lot that goes into this. The industrial power of the United States, you have Europe that is mostly industrialized at this point, and this is this huge boom in technology. They have expendable cash, for the first time. This is the jazz era. Everything is going great up until this point. But the problem is there's a whole lot of people that are just not looking into the future, as we've seen time and time again, unfortunately. You have people, like I said, buying on margin, essentially taking out loans for another loan. You have people that are making more than ever because we have the ability to, but unfortunately you have a surplus, which means everything is cheaper. Only 3% of Americans own stocks, so hey, you didn't own stocks, you'd be in the clear, right? Nope, the universe still says fuck you, because most likely your boss owns stock and they don't have the money to pay you at your job. If your boss didn't own stocks, then the bank in which they deal with, they did. And they went under. Everything was very privatized and everybody was running for the hills. This all spawns from the First World War. Soldiers needed more food during this time. The farms were under a lot of pressure to produce. The farms upgraded their techniques, they mechanized, and they borrowed money to improve their farming equipment and their farms themselves. So farming actually got better, meaning they were able to farm more and have a higher output, but prices again got lower. And so these farmers borrowed money to improve what they did, and they did improve it and started having a surplus of goods, which resulted in them going broke because there wasn't a demand. This is called deflation. Deflation makes inflation look like a bitch. It is just a snowball effect. If you have a surplus of goods, costs for those goods go down. That means the wages go down. Fewer buyers for the goods mean fewer people's jobs. Everything is essentially fucked. Welcome to deflation. The war ended, and someone had to literally pay for it. Well, they decided that was Germany. So Germany has to pay retributions. Now, stupidity reigns on all fronts here. Germany borrows money from the US to pay for the war. US figures that's fine. To obtain a nation's debt is advantageous if played right. But the problem is, countries like France and Britain paid debts owed to America as well, with money from Germany that Germany borrowed from America. This is what causes a credit freeze. Essentially, you have somebody that keeps borrowing money from you to pay off the money that they owe you. And then you have third parties that also owe you money, getting their money from other people that are taking loans for your money. If you give your friend $25 and then he pays you back through a loan that he gets from you, then you're going to run into problems. And suffice to say, the United States did not handle this very well, and everything was very much so privatized, and banks were just shutting shop. So even if you weren't involved in any of this, you were involved in this because banks were just trying to get any money they could and running out. So this is what puts the Peaky Blinders in a very advantageous situation, but only if they work outside of the law. So this is bringing them naturally back, not a contrived way, to force the Peakies to work outside of the law. When they're trying to set up legitimate businesses throughout these whole seasons, now legitimate business just doesn't pay. Legitimate business is not legit anymore. So crime it is. You have to have cash. It's only liquid. You can't have any type of money tied up with any type of financial institute at this time. Everything is subject to just being liquidated at any moment. You don't know where your assets are. You don't know what is actually going to be there the next day if you do have any money with any financial institution. So this is a very organic and yet convenient twist for our story when we have the economic downturn working as a perfect catalyst for change in Tommy's journey. Season 4 ends with his sense of legitimacy as Tommy rises to power, but the world is now flipped on its head and power is being redefined once again. This is an excellent external conflict to play along with our protagonist, who is plagued with internal battles as we see throughout the season as well. I don't think that there's been a better setup for a Peaky Blinders season than season 1 of episode 5. Just because it's so organic, it sticks to the actual narrative that has been following Tommy throughout the whole time, which is post-World War I Europe. And this is something that is affecting him, and this is something that is really putting him in a bind when he has finally risen to what he felt probably was going to be something that he felt like he would have his hand on the wheel for. He felt like he'd be in control once he finally got that legitimacy. He has worked his way up from just getting stakes in the local racetracks to actually having control over the alcohol and other commodities and shipping and exports in which he was bringing in, and slowly grinded his way to Parliament. And now, what is Parliament? Well, we're about to see. I always look for narratives that really showcase how the world happens to you. Your character is not the center of the universe. The character can only have so much agency because at the end of the day, we all are reactionary beings. We react. We don't go out with these master plans at every moment. It just becomes a little bit dull to me. The world is happening to Thomas Shelby. Of course, he's a chess player. He's a chess master. But he's also having the world, this very chaotic world in which he's inhabiting, is happening. And he is not a god. And if he thought he was one, he's definitely finding out that he is anything but. Stephen Knight, the creator and writer of Peaky Blinders, is definitely taking us on a tour of post-World War I up until pre-World War II England. And it is a fascinating ride. I truly appreciate it, and I don't just go throughout all the minutiae of the Great Depression in these times and really try to cement down how bad things really were just for the hell of it or just to state 8th grade facts. It's because Peaky Blinders really thrives in its environment, and it's an environment that really plays a critical role and really adds a excellent mixture of internal and external conflict, and I look forward to the seasons to come. I want to touch on really quick the inclusion of Gina, Michael's new wife. I do feel like Gina was thrown at us, and I really actually like that. I think that it's perfect for the series. Like I said, it has to be fast paced in the first episode, especially to get that first act kicking. And Gina is thrust upon the Shelbys as well, not to mention Polly Gray. So this is Michael's new beau, his new companion, and I think that the actress is great. I got to look up another IMDb actress, make me feel even older, doing a great job, and adds another sharp edge to Michael's persona, and I really like what's happening with Michael in this season. So I have watched the whole season, and I will be doing a episodic review for the rest of the episodes and then do a final review. And I definitely want to thank everybody that supports the channel and supports Peaky Blinders. It's a really fantastic show, and it's just a fun watch. It's not too much to say about it, to be honest. It's just a really good watch. It is a solid piece of storytelling. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, please check out the link in the information below. I'll be providing podcast-only versions of all my videos from now on for my Patreons. Thank you guys so much for supporting creativity, but make sure to like and make sure to subscribe, guys, and I'll see you soon.
Arthur? Shrinking soul, but there won't be a single thing that you can do. He's a god, he's a... Hello.
Arthur! Arthur, where's Tommy? Just get to him and tell him that we've lost the lot.
Stay here, you stay put. You'll leave from Tommy.
Arthur, what are you talking about? How is that possible?
It's possible because this morning, in New York City at 6 a.m., the Wall Street Stock Exchange crashed like a steam train. We were most definitely on board.